Think about what you did.
Nobody makes it to the end of these things. Come on.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.
Oh. Sorry. Alan called me off guard. That was really gross. I don't know.
Are you a gagger?
I don't know. I don't know. I just got an image, a mental image. I think we should start the show. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back. Talking about genetic engineering today by three guys that have absolutely no business talking about genetic engineering. So I have no idea. We've got a hell of an agenda here. I'm not sure where this thing's going to go because I feel like it's going to go off the rails pretty quick. But did you guys want to start this somewhere, or do you want me to just jump right in?
I have no place to start.
All right, fair enough. All we're talking
Start
about
with
here
item
is-
number one.
We're going to get into a bunch of stuff, but all we're talking about here is basically just altering DNA to make something, plants, animals, viruses, whatever you want, doesn't matter. Just as long as you change the DNA to make something else, that's genetic engineering. I'm going to go off on this one because the only thing I cared about when we decided to do this topic is it drives me nuts that people get so mad about GMO food. Like, I don't know. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I was always promised like a tomato the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, right? Like that was the thing. We're going to feed the world with one tomato. It's going to be beautiful. And now people are banning GMO food because they're convinced it's bad, but I can't figure out why they think it's bad. And I don't understand why I can't get my Volkswagen Beetle tomato. And I really kind of thought that was a flying car, Volkswagen Beetle tomato. Those were like the two things I thought was going to happen by like the year 2000. And now there's a war. And I was even, when we talked about this topic, I looked in my pantry and non-GMO project is written on like everything in there. And it drives me nuts because, I mean, there's so much awesome stuff.
Well, and I think the problem with people's understanding is all of the foods that we eat today are technically genetically modified. We've cross-pollinated and spliced plants together to create the bananas that we eat.
Well, you know what? Let's start with that. So switch over to, that's a great point. I actually had a...
This one?
Yeah, that one. Okay, so this is what drives me crazy. So we've been doing this for thousands of years. Right? We've been making things into what we want. Look at dogs. They're all wolves.
Yeah.
We turned them, and I have...
Selective breeding.
I have a 9-pound terrier. Okay, without me, there is literally no way that animal survives in the wild. Okay, it needs me every day to survive. It has no natural skills whatsoever. We made that. We made that for us.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with these adorable little dogs. They got fluffy ears and a tiny little tail that does things. But here's like a bunch of examples. Like I love these examples. Like that. All right.
Yeah.
What was that painted? Like the 1700s? 17th,
Yes, 17th
1600s.
century. Yep.
What is that?
That's a watermelon.
That's what they looked like.
Before we started monkeying around with watermelons,
Really?
saying there's got to be a better way to melon.
That's an original watermelon.
Yeah.
That's a 1600s watermelon.
Yeah, I don't know if it's original. I mean, maybe most.
I mean, that's what they look like.
That's what they look like. Yeah, they look like pomegranates.
Yeah.
Like that does not look even that
Just
attractive.
say versus today.
And that looks delicious.
I mean, that's just all rind.
Yeah, it's nastiness. So, and we made it awesome. We did it because we're awesome, and that's what people do. What is that? That's a banana.
Banana.
Right?
Yep. That's a
banana.
wild banana.
That's a wild banana.
Huh.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
Well, is it good?
No. If you've read about anybody that eats them, they taste bitter or like salty. I think people have described them as. They have big seeds all throughout it, so you're constantly getting the seeds out of them.
Yep.
And then we made a delightful banana.
Well, then I think even the modern banana is very different. Like what we eat today is very different from what it was in the 50s.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because Chiquita liked their bananas best. So they made theirs the more prominent one. And wiped out all the other ones. Yeah, there's a bunch of that stuff. Like
Well,
even...
have you seen the genetically modified bananas? They're like 3 feet long.
Oh, super long.
And they last for like a month on the counter.
Really? Yeah.
They don't brown or anything. They just sit there and they're like, whatever.
Those
Leave me
are
whenever
the
you
ones
want.
I need at home.
Right.
I'm sick of throwing bananas away.
Well, the thing I don't understand about bananas that drives me nuts is they're green, they're green, they're green, they're green. They're yellow, they're brown. Like, you've got like 4 hours to make these bananas, and that's it. But you have to stare at it for a week and a half until you get to that 4 hours. And if you go away, God help you if you have an appointment at night. You get up the next morning, you're like, it's either banana bread or trash. Like, there's no in between. It's so I don't know. I'll genetically modify that. Oh, by the way, my wife. I joke. I called her. I got her in trouble. I got in trouble the other night. So if I went like this to my wife, she'd bruise. Like
Yeah.
So I called her an old banana.
An old banana.
That did not go over well. I was like, "You're like an old banana."
That sounds like a really bad insult.
It was not how it was meant, but that's how it was taken.
I don't.
mean, if I wasn't 230 pounds, I would have been on the couch. Luckily, she can't get me off the bed. I just bear down. I'm like, no, I sleep here.
I think it's more of the confusion of what is a very old banana.
I didn't say very. Don't put words in my mouth. I said old banana. Very old is insulting. Old banana is descriptive. There's a difference. Hey, look at that. That's an egg. That's an eggplant.
That's an eggplant. Yeah, wild eggplant.
Like, we have made... That's a carrot. Right?
That
And
looks
if you're
very
not... If you're
appetizing.
listening to this podcast, I highly recommend that you flip... We'll put the link to this in the description. At least
Yeah.
check out the link or flip over and watch it. But go back to the carrot. Real quick.
It's
Yeah.
kind of eye-opening, actually.
Would you ever eat that? Like, whoever even looked
I mean,
at
I
that?
probably would have.
Yeah, probably if I
like-
had to. Yeah, that's-
So well, here's what I wonder. Okay, so what's the difference within the nutrients of the before and the after?
Okay, so that's a great question. So there's actually a ton of foods. Like, have you ever heard of yellow rice?
I have
Golden
not.
rice. Golden
Golden
rice.
rice.
Golden rice.
I think I've heard of golden rice.
So golden rice is just white rice, where they genetically modified it to have beta carotene and to have a bunch of other vitamins that people in rice-eating countries tend to lack, so that they can eat rice but get things that they don't
Need.
usually have in their diet. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. It's all good. It's
Yeah.
rice plus stuff rice doesn't have. It's rice plus.
Super rice.
It's super rice.
Super
I don't understand why you can't make rice like a banana and then you just eat it like a taco.
I don't feel like that'd be as appetizing.
Why couldn't you just make like a big piece of rice?
Fair enough. Well, isn't that what I just said? Like, you eat like a
Yeah,
taco.
chop it up. Yeah.
I,
Okay, I get it now.
All right.
I guess I
Loaf of
didn't really
bread.
make the connection.
You're right, though. That probably kind of gross.
Yeah, just
It was a little weird,
Yeah. All right, anyway.
but I get it now.
Carrots, that's corn.
corn. Yeah.
That's what corn looks like,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm?
I mean, so we've been genetically modifying stuff for years. Oh, yeah, peach. That's
Peach,
my favorite.
yeah.
Who would ever even eat that? Like, the whole thing is a pit with some rubber on the outside.
When even like apples, you can't grow a Macintosh apple from a Macintosh apple seed.
Excuse me?
Apples, so I guess the way natural apple seeds are meant is that they're supposed to be weaker than the parent seed.
Why?
So if you took a seed from a Macintosh apple, it would not grow you necessarily a Macintosh apple.
Well,
It might fruit to some other type of apple.
Really?
They actually
Wasn't that because it's sort of a messed with apple, or
Or is that a
because it's
natural
like
it's
trait
a
of apples?
natural trait apparently. Like most apple
So-
trees are grafted. Like they'll graft a branch and put it on another tree just to grow proper.
What? Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Oh, wait, how did apples survive as a fruit if every version of themselves is worse?
they're just I don't
I
know.
mean, that sounds like the gene pool in Pennsylvania.
Pretty much.
I mean, just,
What was it I was reading about Johnny Appleseed? Everyone was like, he did a lot of good for apples, but all he was planting was shit for cider, like to get drunk.
oh, wow.
Everyone's like, he just was spreading shitty apples.
Well, I'm not hating on that. I mean, his motives were solid.
so. What about those
They
trees?
were pure.
So now they've like I don't know how they've cross pollinated trees to where you get a fruit tree and it'll grow different variations of fruit. Have you heard about those?
That's
Yeah.
usually a grafting thing I think they're doing, where
Is
they'll
it?
take like a peach tree stem or stem or stick, they'll cut it and then attach it to another type of tree.
And it'll survive that?
Mm-hmm. There are certain ones, like I don't think you can do an apple and a pear. I think I was reading, like they don't have the same root structure, but as long as they have a similar root structure or composition, you can graft them together.
See, this stuff blows my mind because I've tried taking care of plants and they always die within a week. And these people are splicing plants together and just cramming plants into other plants, creating new plants, and it all lives. I'm constantly blown away by how good they are at this stuff. So yeah, show me one of these. I want to see one of these
see, this is
these
from
Frankenstein plants.
UNH.
Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, So
Okay,
choice
so
of
they-
rootstock.
So they take it when it's small with the roots on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that's picking your rootstock. So this is a whole article on how to actually graft trees. But you're picking a certain rootstock, and then from there you would start grafting.
Okay,
Or
but
other
I mean,
stuff.
we can. This is, I guess, technically.
So
not
they're-
genetic. This is genetic manipulation. This is not genetic engineering.
Still technically engineering.
You're right. It is. You're right.
So are they combining a root system that when the tree grows, it's actually got different strains of root in it, or
Will it
different?
make two
It
different
has
types of
like
fruit?
I think
like
so,
it
yeah.
has like 4 different strains of tree in one
Can we see a picture of an orange tree with apples?
in one trunk system, which is what leads to the multiple fruits.
Combination
That's
fruit
crazy.
trees.
I really hope
See what
our
this is.
listeners give a crap about the things I seem to be fascinated with. 'Cause I'm blown away by this. This is blowing my mind. There's some farmer out there listening going, these guys are morons.
Yeah.
So these look like they're grafting similar fruits, but you're getting like 3 different apple types.
Okay.
Combination cider apple tree, combination cherry tree.
Now, would that be like similar to rejection in a human body? Like, you need to have some genetic compatibility.
Some
or else
compatibilities there, yeah.
It'll kill off. Okay, like if the seed has an invasive.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Like it couldn't be like a lemon and an apple.
A total side note, but can we all agree that pears are gross?
Pears are the
Pears?
best. What are you
Really?
talking about?
No, what are you talking about?
All right.
Pears are good.
See,
All
that's
right, then we don't agree. That's fine.
fruit cocktail.
I just saying that if you're gonna eat a piece of fruit that tastes like sandpaper, just eat the sandpaper and move on.
Pears don't what?
They're disgusting.
So this is
You
all
have a genetic
this all grew.
modification that makes you not like pears.
I
You're
mean,
missing something in your
all I'm
genetic
saying-
code.
We should graft. We should
100% sure I'm right.
we should graft a branch on a pear branch onto his arm.
You're gonna turn me into a pear tree.
Might help you like them.
Yeah, it's a bad maybe. I don't know. I always thought pears were gross. Every time I eat one, I'm always like, this is not what I expected. I always expected it to be great. Yes, maybe that's it.
Man,
I put the pears on a pedestal. That's the problem. All right. So, did we have any more on that other?
Says this tree growing plums, peaches, cherries.
Yeah, it's got
and
all 4.
apples.
Wait, that
yeah.
grew all of that on one tree?
It will, yeah. But a peach, an apricot,
that's
and
what I was talking
nectarine
about.
are all pretty similar. I think a nectarine is just technically a non-hairy peach to some extent. They're also they all have stones in them.
Can we also agree that nectarines are pretty gross?
No.
Nectarine.
But I only say it because like 5 years ago I developed an oral allergy to peaches and apples. Just one day.
And what's
I
in-
think peaches are the
in-
Like
greatest.
when I
Oral
eat an
allergy.
apple
Yeah.
or a peach, my mouth gets really itchy.
just your mouth?
Well, yeah, just my mouth. Like
How do you scratch it?
I don't.
Ooh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because they're my favorite fruit.
So you
So
developed
the-
now
so-
with peaches.
Pretty much, what I think I've narrowed it down to is any tree that would cross-pollinate with a birch tree. I think I have a birch tree allergy.
You've really looked into this.
Yeah, no, because I'm like, well,
What-
I love apples. I love peaches.
I love apples. too.
What I think it means is that there's a market for a mouth scratcher.
Maybe we can make like the peach equivalent of a hairless cat. For
Yeah.
hypoallergenic
Hairless peach.
purposes. Like, well, wait, that would be. We just talked about that. That would be a nectarine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not gonna work.
You just need a mouth scratcher that's shaped like the roof of your mouth, and that like
Or just use your teeth.
Or just don't eat peaches. Although I will say that peach looks pretty delicious in that picture.
Yeah.
And that peach at the top looks disgusting.
it just looks smaller.
It's like a cherry.
Did you ever have an umbrella peach?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
God, they're the best.
What
They're
makes-
literally shaped like like that, a flat disc type thing.
like the top of a muffin.
They're not like they don't have the
They're just a disc.
what's this? The y-axis. They don't have that.
Okay.
They have the x and the z-axis.
So they're two-dimensional.
Yeah, pretty much. They're
Interesting.
delicious.
Huh. I don't really. I've never really upped my fruit game since like. the
Yeah,
90s.
I never applied graphene. He's obviously fixated
I'm not
on
gonna lie, though,
fruit.
that didn't help. Like, he's building out a three-dimensional model. He's like, the cosine would really is 2.3. That should describe it. Right
He's
there.
grafting and graphing and algebraic phrases. He's really into his fruit.
He's just making crap up. I'd believe whatever he says right now. It seems like he knows a lot more.
Yeah,
about this
it
than-
seems like it's
he
like
could say anything. And
like
it'd
a
be
pastime.
I worked on produce farms growing up.
Oh, did you?
That's,
That's
right.
what
You
I
did
did.
tell me that.
Oh,
I forgot
okay.
about that.
Yeah.
All right, well that makes some more sense.
I desperately try to avoid produce.
I mean, in my adult life, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, except potatoes.
Yeah,
that produce?
but no, they don't count.
Why do you
Yeah,
avoid
it's not really-
produce for?
I don't know. I feel like it's empty vitamins. So I take a multivitamin in the morning.
Like
and
fruits
then
and vegetables,
eat
you
meat
avoid.
throughout the day.
You avoid fruits and vegetables.
I mean, if I can help it. I mean, sometimes they sneak in there and I get mad, but you know, I purge. I'm vegetable bulimic. Like I get them out of there.
You're like George Jetson.
It's
Just give me the pill.
wait, is George? I know surprisingly little about George Jetson.
Oh really?
I remember watching the show when I was a kid.
His boy Elroy.
It's Jane, his wife. There's only two things I remember about the Jetsons. I remember that his wife always stole all of his money at the beginning of every episode, and it made me mad. Because he offered her some money, and she took all of the rest of the money, and it was very rude. And then she escaped. Like, she ran away. She knew she did that. Right? That always made me mad as a kid. And the second thing was there was an episode where Spacely Sprocket went out of business, and they were both unemployed. And then the episode ended. And in the next episode, it was like it never happened. And I was very upset as a child about that. And I went to my older brother, and his response was to smack me on the head and go, "It's a cartoon, dum-dum." And it took me years to process it's a cartoon, dum-dum. Like that really warped my whole worldview for a while. So, but that's it. That's all I know.
I mean, I remember that episode. I just don't remember feeling disappointment.
Look, it hit me hard. It caught me at an impressionable age.
I just always thought I thought it was so great how they just dumped water on the bead and it turned into exploded into a meal.
I just thought it was awesome that Rosie was sarcastic.
Yeah,
I
she was.
I think all of our robots should be sarcastic.
She should have been fired, really.
Absolutely. She was disrespectful.
Yeah.
She was moderately good at her job. So, but I don't think they paid her. So how do you fire her?
Yeah, I guess you can.
I don't know. Turn her into a toaster and move on. Is there any other fruits on there that we want to look
Nah,
at?
that was it.
Nah,
Peach was the
that's
last one.
All right. So, I mean, the point of that whole thing was we've been doing this for years. And this anti-GMO movement is... Well, I actually found a good description from a bunch of Belgian biotechnologists and from Ghent University that said that arguing that negative representations of GMO are widespread and compelling is because they are intuitively appealing. And basically what that means is when somebody tells you that shoving some DNA from one thing into another thing is bad for you, it seems to make logical sense, so you accept it. And I kind of think that's all it is. Like, people are like, yeah, it can't be good. Are you going to put fish DNA in a tomato? Like, that's not going to be good for a tomato. And it's going to taste like fish.
I think, the mergings of the food and doing that stuff, I don't think that's as much of a concern as what I think is when you make food that bugs won't eat. What does that mean?
Well, I think that's a huge one. I mean, if you can get away from pesticides and make foods that are naturally resistant, so there's a lot of things.
But are they food? Like, what is it? If an insect wants nothing to do with it,
well, insects have
what does that mean
they
about?
have very different biology than we have. So there's different things they're looking for in food than we're looking for in food. So all you have to do is just take away the things they care about without getting rid of the things we care about, and suddenly it's unappealing. It no longer meets their base requirements.
Well, what about the whole
Or they taste differently. I mean, a lot of bugs taste with their antenna or taste with their feet or whatever. Like they don't taste the way we taste. So all you got to do is figure out how they taste, make the food taste different to them, but not to us, because we taste very differently. We have different sensors, and then bang, they don't want to eat it, but we can eat for days.
What about the whole circle of life and like if bugs need to eat to live, produce this, I don't know. How's that all affected?
Are you worried about the bugs?
No, you don't question what exactly is food and what exactly are we eating. Like what?
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
Like we have there's obviously a problem with obesity and stuff. So like, where's, it's all this sort of product. We're not eating food. We're eating product.
All right. So let's talk about that. So what is food?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I thought about this because I read an article about 3 weeks ago that said basically we're not eating food anymore. We eat products.
Yeah, but food.
And I didn't really know how.
Food is a nutrient delivery system, right?
Right.
That's all it is. It's you could get the exact same thing like the Matrix by eating that runny snot.
Slop.
Yeah. It's a nutrient delivery system. We just have gotten spoiled and like it to be tasty also. But it was not that long ago that you didn't give a crap what it tasted like. You were just needed food.
Happy to live.
Yeah, you were just happy to have another meal. So as long as the nutrients are in there without anything that is harmful to your body, it's food. I mean, and if you make it a product so it tastes good so people will buy it, then it's commercially available food that people would consume and that you can turn into a product. So all you're doing by making it so bugs don't want to eat it is you're not starving the bugs. You're just encouraging them to find other food. I mean, it's not like we're cultivating the entire planet with agriculture and then telling the bugs to suck it. And even then, it would only affect certain bugs. So there would still be bugs that, eat other bugs or eat dead matter or, feed on trees or... I mean, there's bugs don't just eat plants. There are bugs that do eat plants. There's like, locusts and grasshoppers love to eat corn, but mosquitoes aren't eating corn.
Yeah.
They don't give a smack about vegetables. So you're only affecting certain insects, and most of those are either invasive or affect our ability to have high crop yields. I'd be more worried about the fact that we're growing all this food and it's getting ruined by animals, so we're depleting the soil. So if we can keep bugs and animals from screwing with our food supply, we can maximize crop yield, and then we can make sure that we can use less farmland to grow more food, which means that the bugs have more area where we're not taking over and fighting them. And I think pesticides in the soil and in the water are far worse than changing plants a little bit so they don't taste good to a certain species. That's my case.
I guess it doesn't not make sense. I think it's an interesting perspective. I just think that there's the big question is, people are they're designing food, and obviously from looking at these pictures,
we've been doing it for thousands of years.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very logical after what you're showing right here. I never really looked back at that.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean,
so the original corn you showed there, was that maize? Is that actually...
No,
that
even
wasn't
maize was different.
Yeah,
So-
maize is a different strain of
But that took generations to develop. Indians trying different things and mixing.
So Indians developed today's corn. Well, they developed
Not
maize.
today's
No,
corn,
today's corn's very different.
very
Right,
different.
but they developed maize, which
yeah.
which today's corn has come from maize.
For the most part, there's a couple
There's
of different...
branches.
There's branches,
I mean,
yeah.
you got like field corn that's not edible for us, but cattle eat that stuff up.
And it's very decorative for Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It bounces good off doors.
It does bounce well off doors. So, yeah, but I mean, it's just amazing to me how far we came without even touching the DNA.
I don't even understand that.
random-
That's even corn.
Right? It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
I mean, when you look at that and then you think, well, yeah, obviously we need to modify food.
Well, and I think, some people like me would even look at that and see food. I would look for other food. I mean, some very
yeah.
intelligent people throughout the years looked at something and said, we can make this better.
There were a lot of people who ate mushrooms and died
Yeah.
just to find food.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, and I think we accept that.
Are they
so
trying
much-
to find food?
We accept that so much more, I think, as a society because it's cisgenic. So we're working with corn, mixing it with other corn to make new corn. So it's still corn, it's corn throughout. There's nowhere
Yeah.
we're not really we might try to cross pollinate with something close to corn, but for the most part, you're still in the corn realm the whole time you're working with corn.
yeah.
But I think it's the transgenic stuff that really sets people off. So I'm trying to give a good example here. There was a bacterial resistance native to, I believe it was cephalopods. And I don't have this on the agenda, but and don't quote me on any of this because I might be messing up some of the details. But I believe it was a bacterial resistance that cephalopods enjoyed, which made them long-lived. And they started
Cephalopods being some kind of...
octopus. Like a octopus.
Okay.
Cephalopod. And they would take that. Now you gotta understand, we hear octopus and we think slimy, ink shooting monster from the sea, and then they're putting it into tomatoes, and we think, whoa, why would you want slimy monster in tomatoes? But if you're looking at it from a geneticist standpoint, DNA is DNA. It doesn't matter where it came from. It matters that is it useful. You're taking a snippet of DNA and you're using, RNA processes to recombinant DNA processes to integrate it into existing DNA to give or remove a trait. That's all you're doing. So you don't care that it's a slippery, like a monster from the sea that you think. You only care that it's really resistant to bacterial infections. And you want maybe pigs that are extremely resistant to bacterial infections. So you take a little tiny snippet of DNA, you kind of pop that in there for the piggies and say, there you go. And now pigs don't get diseases anymore. They don't get sick. They roll around in their own poop. So, and I think we have this hard time, and I'm guilty of it too, where sometimes I'm like, oh, you took part of a spider and, put it into wheat. It just seems a little off, but you got to remember, you're not actually taking part of a spider. You're not taking like a fang from a spider and putting it into a wheat plant. You're just taking a snippet of one of their best traits. So, and then you're giving whatever you're putting into that trait. Did I do a good job? I did a great job.
No. I honestly, coming into this, I was, to me, the whole GMO thing is a bad thing. But you're sort of swaying me, like where I really don't have an opinion at this point now.
Well, is there still something you can think of that's bad about it?
I guess the real concern just becomes like, whether the way you're presenting it, it's not that we're not eating real food. Obviously, I don't even know. I really didn't expect to see that.
Well, and they're usually not huge shit. I put a whole bunch of examples on here that might kind of give you kind of an idea. It's usually not giant stuff. Like people think they've genetically changed it so much that it's no longer wheat or it's no longer corn. But I broke it down like animals. This is not a real example, but how cool would it be if you could make a bigger cow that farts less? Let's go into
a real example.
Did they make a bigger cow that farts less?
Yeah.
Because I know they were working.
Well, I don't know about bigger, but they definitely have one.
They definitely made less methane.
Okay, so they're pumping steroids into the animals to make them bigger. Like, so you're using
their genetics instead of steroids, because the steroids will carry through to humans.
Right.
So it'll be in the meat. You'll eat it, and you can actually absorb that into your fatty tissues. It's fat soluble, and then it can be deployed into your bloodstream. The genetic stuff is not. That's part of the genetics. It's not something that you're not going to get genetics into you. Like you're eating something, you're processing the minerals and the vitamins and the materials, and then you're expelling whatever you don't use. So it's much safer than using steroids, pesticides, and herbicides.
Mm-hmm. So then what about like when Monsanto created his version of corn, he puts a patent on it. Mm-hmm. I guess, the seeds blew into the neighboring farm, the organic farms. The farmers went and they filed, a lawsuit against Monsanto.
Yes, I've read this story.
Right? And then he comes back and says, oh, your field has my corn, my patented corn in it. Technically, your crops belong to me. No, your corn contaminated my field. No, I have a patent on that corn, and that's my corn now. Mm-hmm. So the court ruled that it was Monsanto's corn. So that's like, you're modifying food, okay, but then maybe there needs to be something where like people can't own the food.
Well,
you can't have that. That was a totally wrong case. I don't care how you look at it.
When you're talking about a legal issue, which is very different, and I agree with you. I don't think they found correctly in that case at all. If you could prove they stole your corn, that might be something different. But if you can't prove that it was intentional theft, then there's, I don't know what to tell you. If anything, you could prove damages that your corn was infected by somebody else's corn. Assuming you could prove there was any type of financial damages there. Otherwise, what you grow on your property is yours. How it gets there, unless it's through fraudulent means, I don't understand how they even got to that conclusion, quite honestly.
No.
I guess it was copyright, or it was patent infringement?
Patent infringement.
Yeah.
Is that what they hit him on?
Mm-hmm. But they filed the claim against him because their organic corn was taken over.
And
so now their crop was messed up. But then the court said, well, hey, it's his crop anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about the legal side of that, and that's all got to be stuff that's got to get hashed out in the courts. And sometimes the courts are ugly. I absolutely agree with that. But at the same time, I mean, you can't, if you're growing organic corn outside and not in an enclosed space, you're always going to have outside influence. That's the whole point of being grown outside. You know, wind is going to blow in from all over. And pollen's going to move between fields all over the country in 1 year. I mean, the natural cycle of pollination is something you can't predict, nor can you count on. So there's no such thing as organic corn unless you're in a greenhouse and even then, you're growing a version of corn that has been genetically modified for thousands of years. You've just arbitrarily decided that this is now the correct version, which in my mind is plain God. What? Because that's just egocentric, right? Because I'm alive right now, and this is the corn my mom served me when I was a kid. It's the perfect corn, and that's what all of you need to eat for the rest of your lives. That's just your ego. That's not organic. That's bullcrap. Like, that's you deciding that you've decided what the perfect corn was, and biological evolution should stop because you are right. That's wrong. You know what? Forget it. I'm on Masano's side. Screw those organic corn guys. I don't agree with it because it's the same thing with climate change. And I'm not getting into the climate change debate in this topic. I'm just saying that we've arbitrarily decided that where all the beaches are right now is exactly where they should be forever because we built buildings near them. Well, they weren't there 20,000 years ago, and they won't be there 20,000 years from now. The shape of the planet has always been changing. That's just egocentric. That's just you deciding that right now is perfect because you were here.
Yeah. They don't want to lose the value of their land.
Or whatever their reason is, but it's still egocentric. Like, it's still you pushing your own agenda because it's beneficial to you because the world revolves around you. Like, no, the world will change whether you like it or not in ways you can't even predict. And, deciding that now is the perfect time is ridiculous. It's a fundamentally flawed concept, whether it's food, land, water, sky. I don't know. We're at the halfway mark. I feel like that went way too fast. I like that you disagree with me, by the way. It makes me
I'm not.
happy.
I'm actually not so I don't really disagree. I kind of blindsided me with info.
I don't know. I always thought the Masano really.
I've never seen.
The more we're talking about it, I kind of think high five Masano.
Well, I don't know. I think that's just kind of messed up. I don't agree with you on that.
I don't think they should ever lose their crop. What you grow on your land is yours.
Yeah, they had to labor over that, and they were telling their customers they had a product, and turned out they don't.
No, I still agree it's wrong. The court ruling was wrong. I think that the organic people probably should not have sued him.
Maybe I should have really read the entire case and understood all the details of it.
Well,
because it seems like I've got incomplete information. It was one of those times where I just know the headlines and,
So you're a Facebook expert.
Yeah, exactly.
I read it years ago, so I don't remember it either.
I read a little bit about it, but I just couldn't get past. I think what I read was actually the farmers, because the farmers were all trying to raise money to fight against Monsanto because they didn't have enough money to fight him.
Well, the organic
and they were all losing their
believe
crops.
What they're doing is right, and the genetically modified people absolutely believe it. And this is the thing you have to remember: is just as strongly as the organic farmers believe they are correct, the GMO people absolutely feel like they are correct. They feel like they're solving world hunger.
Well, after seeing where corn has come from, I'm a little surprised where it's come from. That we can even now, I can't even say I've never eaten corn.
Nobody's ever.
My entire life, I've never eaten corn. If that's what corn is or was, I've never even had it.
Unless you've owned a wolf, you've never had a dog. Unless you've had a lion, you've never had a cat.
Yeah.
And none of us have ever eaten the original version of anything, and the planet's 4 billion years old. Of course you haven't. Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder what is everything.
Oh boy.
What really?
And on that note, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back after these messages from whoever's giving us money. Thank you.
And just lay on top of it.
I got a lot of weight I can throw at that problem. It's like I can get them with mass. And we're back. Are we back?
Yeah, we can be.
We're back.
We're back.
Let's be back.
We're front.
We're front. And we're front. I have no idea. So anyway, so we kind of hammered my pet peeve on GMO foods, which is GMO foods, on the genetic engineering side of things. The rest of this, I don't. All right. Let me ask. I just want to ask you guys a question, and I intentionally did not talk to you about this ahead of time. I'm pro cloning. I think it's awesome. I think we should be cloning stuff left and right. I don't know why we're not cloning everything we can clone. I just clone it up. I would clone myself. Have a little Craig running around. Like I'd hate him. He'd be a jerk. And I'd probably end up murdering him, but that would be suicide and it'd be illegal.
See, I've seen, what was it, the 6th day?
Yeah, I saw it too.
Or Tuesday. What about Tuesday?
Nope, not that day. 6th day is.
That's Schwarzenegger, right?
Yeah, Schwarzenegger.
And he goes to the mall and then comes home and somebody else is
in
standing in his
there.
living room
Yeah.
at his kid's birthday party.
Yeah. What movie is that?
The 6th day.
The 6th day.
It was. Good.
I didn't see that. Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I was thinking
like,
Last Action
you
Hero.
know what number of clone you are by how many dots are on your lip?
Yes.
Didn't Last Action Hero
And they
have
had
something like that?
spare clones of people in case somebody died, and then they just activated them and just downloaded their previously uploaded memories.
See, that's the problem. That's just the problem with all that. It's like it's just gonna snowball. It's gonna snowball into something that's gonna be like, it's just gonna be an era where that's all they know. Like every generation
Well, hold on,
just
what's it gonna
has.
snowball into?
I don't know.
You're
I mean,
gonna
when
have-
you're cloning, if I was cloning myself,
Yeah.
7, I'd make 7 because that's my favorite number. If I'm gonna clone myself,
Well, but you
I
still
want
gotta
7.
Take care of them. Like they don't come out fully grown with all your knowledge. Like that, you'd have 7 babies. And you have to raise 7 tiny little Jimmies with glorious
Oh,
hair.
I just thought I would clone me 7 times.
I guess you could make
Same
it full
age.
size. Like they'd have to come up with a way to accelerate.
No,
the
I'd want it
growth
now.
process.
I just want it now. I want me now 7 times.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Like it's not like Star Trek. Like,
Well, I'm
it's
not
like-
interested in
it's not like a
cloning.
faulty like transporter where it's making multiple of you. Like they
That's-
put your DNA into an empty egg and then they grow another you, but they still have to grow you.
Yeah, but then are you a human or are you property?
How are you not human? You're all human.
Yeah, but
DNA.
then somebody would say that.
Oh, are
That's
you
the
property?
argument.
Yeah, you're absolutely property.
The argument becomes that you're not a human, you're a piece of property then.
Well, see, that's not even the argument.
So now you're talking like,
And everybody agrees that would be a human. You made a human. The argument is, generally speaking, religious, which is, do they have a soul, or are they gingers?
is it, are we, did we break the agenda? Are we off
Oh,
topic?
well, I don't even know.
I can't even tell.
We have an agenda today?
I don't even know what we're talking about now.
Did
I'm
you
like the
intentionally
I'm
change
like
that because I went after gingers.
I'm like the Geico lizard right now. I don't even know what we're talking about right now.
Well, first of all, I wholly discount your 7 theory. That's ridiculous. You couldn't handle 7 kids; they would destroy you. So, especially 7 of you. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if they were cloned, wow.
That'd be brutal.
Probably better off not cloning myself.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just let this breed die off.
I would only do it because I was a fat kid, but we were poor, and we ate a lot of bad food because that's what poor people do. And I just kind of want to see if I had a good diet, if I wouldn't have been so fat.
Yeah, but I was
that's the only reason I want to do it.
I don't-
I want
I
to give
don't-
him like 18 years to see if he's still a porker. Like, was that genetic, or was that just a lot of, cheap pasta and crappy saltines? And butter?
I was poor.
Yeah.
I was on welfare.
Okay.
I was skinny. I guess we just didn't get enough.
I say this just feels like a nature
Powdered
versus
milk.
nurture type thing.
I want to know.
Did you drink
I feel like
powdered
we'd
milk?
learn a lot about psychology if we let this happen. I mean, would
Yeah.
that Craig turn into this Craig? I don't know. There was a lot of bullying and a lot of wants and needs that happened that this Craig would probably not have. I don't know. It'd be a different upbringing. He might be a soft. He might wear an ascot. I don't know. I don't know what he would do.
So you really are excited about the thought of cloning?
I think look. I have a hard time seeing where it really goes off the rails. If you can accelerate the growth process, you can bring somebody up to your exact age, and then you can transfer memories. Okay, now we're into Hollywood stuff, and yeah, I can see some really bad scenarios.
Yeah, but in that thought, they're still human, right? So they're gonna have the same brain. They're
Yes.
eventually going to argue for their rights.
Yeah, they're human. I mean, they'd be your kid.
But you're telling them your property.
Yeah, but now you're
I don't
gonna
understand that. How is
because
that
people
any
are
different
gonna
than in vitro?
people are gonna start growing things in their office,
In my mind, it is
and then
no
they're gonna
different-
say, "No, that's my thing."
In my mind,
It's not.
it's no different than in vitro fertilization. It's just instead of me sharing that egg with another person, I'm saying, you know what, I'm going solo on this one. That's all it is. You know what? I don't want to have a partner in this business. I'm just going to put all of me in there.
I'm just gonna
You
be
don't
me.
get a say. You don't get some of you in there. Like, I don't know why we got to go 50-50 with somebody. It's like forced partnerships. I feel like that's wrong. That's a crime. I'm going all Craig all the time. It's gonna be.
It's gonna be like stray cats.
What?
Just people running around.
With-
They're like, I didn't really want this.
No,
Just
you
go.
still-
Like
you
you,
still have to
yeah,
raise the kid.
you'd have
Like,
one Craig would grow up with matted hair, like
None of them would grow up with hair. I've seen every future of this head. It always ends up bald.
it'd be like ratty nappy hair.
That would be a true. You know what? And that's where genetic engineering comes in. I find the gene that caused this whole disaster, and we fix that business, and I turn into Fabio.
We find
Fat Fabio. I'd be Fatabio.
we find the happy middle between that and this.
And you know what? And I'd make some of my clone Craigs taller too. 5'9". They say it's average. It feels short. I don't know. It's only average when you're around shorter people.
I think I would just make one really messed up, like with the long ass nose out to here.
Yeah, exactly.
Big, long, droopy ears.
You intentionally bork one of your kids?
Yeah.
You would just be like Doc, let's just
Be
have
like
some
the
fun with this one.
Be like the troll under the bridge.
Let's give him a tail. Let's see what happens. Why not? Make both his eyes different colors. Make them polychromatic.
Make him go this way.
Just
like
so kids have
make his
something to
eyes
check out.
make his eyes work like lizards. Can you imagine if you could like look this way?
All right. So now that I'm talking to Jimmy, I
Now
know I
we're-
see the problems with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
there are monsters out there, and
Yeah.
they're named Jimmy.
And I'm just having fun. What about the guy that like really wants to do that?
You have some artist who's like, it's my masterpiece type deal. It just make this screwed up.
But I feel like you guys are going to negative town. What about the athlete that says, I'm going to make the greatest football team in history and has 12 clones, and they're all 350 pounds that can run a 4.2 40, and to have 20/20 vision, 20/10 vision.
And then what about the guy that says, I want you to put an ass right on his head.
Exactly.
I want him to have two asses.
That's the more likely scenario.
And then want him to talk out of his asshole. So boom.
Would he talk like this? Would that be like-
And then
I'd like to ask you a question.
well, did you ever see that movie Centipede?
Oh, no, we're not talking about... No.
Yeah, see, that's what's going to happen.
No, I feel like I have some sort of veto power here. I'm vetoing Centipede. That was not genetic engineering. That was
Genetic manipulation.
all right. Look, all right. Here's my theory. All right, the messed up people, they're gonna do it no matter what. All right, and they're gonna go underground. They're gonna do it through the dark market, black market. They're gonna go on the dark web.
But then,
They're
like,
gonna find some messed up certain guy who wants to clone stuff, and he'll say, "I'll let you clone somebody. I'll let you clone me, as long as you put a bud on his face." And they'll do it because the black market will do anything for money. At least if you legalize it, you can regulate it and you can control it. And you can say no asses on faces. I don't know. I think
yeah,
it's
but
like
then you could
cigarettes.
secretly grow people, and they wouldn't really have
Why
no.
would you secretly grow them if it was legal? You're only going to secretly grow them if it's not legal. So legalize it. Yeah. Legalize it.
I feel like we substitute the word people for another word.
Whatever.
This is
Open
that's an
conversation.
extremely sticky situation because you're getting into like ownership.
No, I think natural reproduction.
I think
is
you're not.
sticky. I think this is clean. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
You mix up those genes, you know. I'm just telling you, I have no problem whatsoever with the cloning. I think it's all rock solid. I think if
So then we could become a superior. We really could become an elite race of people.
absolutely,
You could get rid of all the all the defective traits and all the defective, like.
I mean, they are making designer animals now.
I was saying that like a big thing with like CRISPR
Yeah.
and stuff is to change the genetic things that cause birth defects and all that.
And they're already doing it now, but in a different way because they're not allowed to clone. So they're looking for indicators of different traits like Downs or like Asperger's and things like that. And then they're giving parents options to abort because they're probably going to have a special needs kid. So in a way, we're already doing it. We're just doing it old school with new school technology, new school techniques. I mean,
What if everyone had Asperger's?
What? Everybody?
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then,
I think you'd have a lot of really specialized people.
well, but what if everyone had it? Like, then
What
it
if-
it would it be then it wouldn't be abnormal, and no one would be bothered by, like, you wouldn't even see it as a problem.
And that's where the agenda brings. That right there, officially. Before then, we were at least talking about the same thing. I don't even know what we're talking about now. It's luckily nobody's still watching.
Did you guys ever see? It was called The Retarded Policeman on YouTube.
That was what it was called.
It's a series. Yeah, it's wonderful. But the
That's-
main star has Asperger's, and that's one of his things. But he pulls a burger from his ass.
What?
You have to watch. It was the best series. Early YouTube stuff. The Retarded Policeman, like.
He's really messing up the scene. He's turned this really offensive.
No, he's quoting the name of it. You can say retarded when you're quoting a title, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's
Yes.
why I said it.
Yeah, you can still do it.
Okay.
It's like if I called you retarded,
Oh,
that would be wrong. Or if I said this podcast is pretty retarded, that would be wrong. But quoting the retarded policeman is perfectly okay. That's acceptable business.
Look it up. It's
rock
a
solid.
good series.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
maybe what we think is good isn't really good, and we
Probably
should
not.
go the
Look.
opposite direction.
Well, look, if you want to get existential, I mean, everything about society is a construct. I mean, you can have that conversation all day long, but we're talking about genetic engineering.
Genetic engineering.
I have an agenda. I wrote it.
Let's do this.
It's pretty terrible.
Let's
We
get
haven't
back on
listened to
track.
Any of it, but
Because we're really surfing.
I'm super glad I started the second half of cloning. That was more fun than I thought it would be. All right. So obviously you guys aren't on board with my love of cloning, but I'm going to win you guys over. I think it's rock solid. I think it's good stuff. I have some examples here of actual genetic modifications that I want to tell Jimmy because I feel like he's still not fully on board. All right. Pesticide resistant plants. You already said you're against that because you feel bad for the critters. So we can skip that one. But I don't know. I don't like pesticide in my food. I think it's pretty solid.
Well, I don't like. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pesticides a problem. It's a problem for water. It's a problem for ground. It's a problem for everything.
Killing
Problem for
animals.
insects. It's a problem for birds.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I mean,
So just get rid of it.
it's an ecological disaster.
Boom. Genetically modified. Done. Out of here. How about plants that fight pollution? You okay with that?
I mean, yeah,
They
that's
actually made trees.
They're
and
gonna-
they plant them in polluted areas, and the root system's designed to filter out pollutants, and then breathe perfectly clean air, the water into the air.
you know what I think it is. I think that people are just don't get it. That's a big thing to take in. You really got to have a creative mind to absorb that concept. And it sounds really, really cool.
Did we just win him over?
I don't
Is this
know.
podcast over?
I think it is.
Did we actually win one? Because usually at this point he just starts talking nonsense until I get frustrated, and then I storm out of the room. like he's actually like giving me an inch. Like he never does that. I'm gonna keep going anyway. I don't care that you're giving me an inch. Faster growing plants by upwards to 100%, twice as fast.
Well, I mean, this is all great
Double your
until
crop yield.
until you start to see, like, how does it affect people? The thing is, we become lab rats.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. So there is actually a lot of research on this, and you are correct. Ever since the 1970s, when they created the concept of genetic modification, they have found exactly 0 effects on people by anything that's been publicly released. Now, there's been some weird crap that's been created in labs that they would never publicly release, and I think that would be a good opportunity to show the ear on the mouse.
Okay, well
They
then
created some weird crap that they said we can't.
okay,
release
they're
out of this lab.
saying this, right?
Yes.
But now we've got all kinds of problems in society right now. Like this. So let's just take things like Asperger's and Downs and like what, I don't know the statistics, but what types of diseases are becoming more prominent? What is escalating, and what are they linking it to, or what are they pretending
so
that
weird.
it linked to? What'd they do to that thing?
That's
I grew an ear on it.
An ear?
figuring out how to use other animals to grow human organs. Like they can grow a human kidney. In a
So how do you think that rat feels right now?
Don't care.
He doesn't know.
He's there to make
Does
my
anything
ear
different.
come back.
He's like,
He serves
he's
a
like,
purpose.
he probably heard me say
What?
that.
that's all you say. What?
But that's it's like that's what I mean. Like when you see stuff like that, it's just kind of messed up. I mean, they've determined that like they can do whatever they want to a rat, but who? Like I don't know. I'm not a rat lover.
Hold on,
It's
Jimmy,
just
are you
that
paying attention to what he's showing us right
the
now?
pig with what?
It's a pig with
That's a monkey.
primate
With what?
cells. So they took a monkey cells and turned it into a pig.
Okay, so
So what does it do?
The purpose, well, it died pretty much within a week, but the point is, can they take human cells, turn it into a pig, and then grow human
All right,
organs?
So think about this. You create a pig that, and this has been a long time conversation for geneticists, but can you create organ farms? So, for example, I can go ahead and give them DNA samples and say, grow me an extra heart, grow me an extra kidney, grow me an extra liver, grow me an extra, I don't know, whatever, pituitary gland. And just, keep them there on a vine or whatever you grow them on. And if my heart is going bad because I drink like a fish, probably smoke too many cigars, and generally treat my body like a funland, you don't have to go out and find a donor. Just, kind of clip one of those hearts that you grew for me off that vine, and then I'll come in, you just pop that bad boy in there, and I'm good to go.
off of a vine
I
or
don't
off
know,
of a
wherever they
pig?
grow 'em on.
No, it'd probably be off of a
Or-
pig.
They
or-
would probably grow it inside. Well, in the short term, probably grow it inside of another animal. In the long term, they'd probably vat grown.
I guess it's like we look at this as this where are we trying to think of what's humane?
Well, and
How does the pig feel? How does the rat feel with an ear
that's
growing
the
out of his back?
ethical implications of it.
I got to be honest. If you're there's a
I know you don't care.
There's a hierarchy here, though. Like if you're saving humans, that pig's got to die. All right, I eat pigs. I mean, you don't have this conversation when you have bacon for breakfast.
Well-
okay, but you have this conversation when you see a picture. Again, this is knowledge. Like this is you having a hard time processing the knowledge of the fact that these things happen. But it's not like you're a vegan.
Right, but okay, but like when you see a kid walking down the street that like has that kind of mutation, how do you feel?
Well, wait, why would a kid have that mutation?
I don't know. You've seen people that are mutated like that. That's a pig. It
Who's
might not
putting-
be. He wouldn't like look like a pig, but he might have like a lopsided head and one arm and two, an eye in his cheek. Like you're like, oh, that's messed
Like,
up.
are you, wait,
Like, so
are you
I don't
talking
know.
about Goonies? You talking about
I-
Sloth.
If
Sloth
I did,
is not real. Hey, you guys.
if I did that for a living, if I grew that thing for a living, I wouldn't feel proud of myself. I mean, I don't know. That's just me.
I feel like if you found a way to grow that and save human lives, you'd probably feel pretty good about yourself. I mean,
And if the one-handed monkey pig was my friend, and I took him for walks and he was happy,
why would you make friends with an organ donor?
well, you can't you can't abuse.
I mean, the
life.
idea
Like,
is
you can't.
you proof of concept it through living organic tissue, but eventually you vat grow it. Like you're not going to make a bunch of suckling pigs
why
out of
use
hearts
a
with faces.
then why use? I guess you have to use a living creature, is what you're saying.
Right now you do, but eventually once you perfect the process, then you eliminate the creature. The other thing they do is they have a lot of organisms where they genetically modify them to be able to grow human components, but they have no brain.
Now, what if
They're basically not living creatures. They're just holders.
Flesh.
Yeah, but there's no brains. There's no consciousness. There's no awareness. There's nothing going on there. And they do that also, so there's no real ethical implication because they bred it without a brain.
Right, but you're making the assumption that when we get to this point, the people who are in charge are going to be doing the right thing. The people
there's
in
no-
charge are going to be
There's
growing.
no advantage to them to torture animals. For one, it looks bad from a PR standpoint. For two, they got to then take care of the animals. It is a much better long-term strategy to make things that you can vat grow or that you can grow in a non-maintenance environment. So they don't want to do this any more than you want them to do this. And I have my best friend in the world. His name is Brian. He used to do addiction research.
In the world? Well, what does that mean for me and Tyler?
Well, you guys, if you were on Mars, you could be my best friend. But in this world, it's Brian. All right, you guys could be co-best friends. All right, we'll have bracelets made.
I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to be friends anymore.
I'll have bracelets. It's fine. But he actually worked for the NIH doing studies on addiction, and they would literally drill holes into rats' brains. They would put feeder tubes into there, and they would inject addictive materials directly into their brain to study the results. Now, they were doing it to help humans, but he only made it about 3 years, and there's only so many times you can murder rats before you're finally like, I can't murder any more rats. and he had to leave. So there is definitely a toll that it takes on the people that work there. These are not cold-blooded, horrible humans. They believe in what they're doing, and they're willing to pay the price. But by the end, he wasn't even sleeping. Like, this is a hard gig. Like, I know we want to dehumanize these people, but they're doing it in spite of the fact that they hate it, not because they love it, because they believe what they're doing is right.
Well,
Most of them. There's probably some sickos in there, but I don't freaking know. But I just don't want to see us.
I mean, I guess it's like and then you look at it's the physical attachment. Like I'm looking at that thing, and because it looks so horrid, I'm assuming it's suffering, but he really may not be.
I mean,
he's just like he just is what he is, and he's just like, yo, dude, what's up?
I don't know. All pigs look like food to me.
And then they can't talk, so nobody can say, "Man, dude."
He kind of looks delicious.
It's not like he's got any. It's not like he's got anybody saying, "Man, dude, you're an ugly ass pig."
You know what I was thinking when I looked at it? I was like, I've never eaten a pig's ear.
You haven't had a pig's ear before?
I've had an egg pig's ear.
Yeah. Pig ear.
You and I. You know what? I love that the guy who was in the military, who's a hard ass, is the one that's worried about the baby pig. And the two guys that work in an IT department, IT company, are like, can't wait to eat that weird pig.
So my first thought.
I don't really see I just feel like there's the mad scientist thing. Like it's
I think that's a lot rarer than
I don't know.
I mean, most people are not going to. Most people go into this because they believe they can solve real world problems. I mean, there's a lot of altruism that goes in. Look, you don't get paid a lot of money to do research into this stuff. Like, there's a lot of federal grants. It's a lot of unless you're with some big genetic organization that's got some sort of revenue stream that allows them to pay you a lot. Most of these guys, they're not making much money. These men and women are doing it because they believe what they're doing can solve a lot of problems and heal a lot of people. And I don't know. I think if it leads to some bonus bacon on the side, that's just a win-win for everybody.
Do you think like at the end when they have their spring fling that they
What they was
pop an apple in its mouth and
they fry all these things up and cook them on the grill?
Well, it would be more like a 3000 BC peach. Right? But, I get what you're saying.
Okay, he's had enough.
The weird pig threw us off track. Fair enough. What else we got here? Bigger, longer lasting tomato. Well, you know my passion for tomatoes. I've brought that up 1,000 times. Oh, wait. Plants that kill or resist pets. I like this one. Murder plants.
Pets?
Kill or
Pests.
resist
Sorry, I
pests.
said that a little quickly.
Murder plants.
Yeah, murder plants. So, like...
But what happens when the murder plants take over a little field, and then they cross over, and then they contaminate the next field, and then they become like murder plants.
That's the premise of The Happening.
And then they just
Also, I think Little House of Horrors.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors.
So you're
Imagine you have a forest full of those things.
So you're worried about the Rick Moranis effect.
Yeah. The butterfly effect.
I'm not worried about
not the butterfly effect.
No, that's a very different effect.
That's a different effect.
No, that movie pissed me off. One scene. The
I
whole
didn't-
movie drove me nuts.
I never
One
watched
scene.
it.
Oh, you never watched it?
I didn't.
We'll talk about it another time. Go watch it.
I'll watch it.
Watch it and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I'm not having any more conversation with you, so you'll watch it. All right.
Fine.
Wait, this one drives me nuts.
I won't
No
talk about it
crying
anyway.
onions. Now wait, am I wrong on this? I get it, no crying onions. But isn't cutting an onion without crying part of the requirements to get your man card?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. If you can sit there and cut a white onion.
How could the flavor be there if you?
Yes. Well, it doesn't see that. It shouldn't affect the flavor. It's just the release of.
No, but part of the taste is the suffering.
Yes.
From cutting it.
And not showing it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Swallowing
That's how you
it.
push your feelings down until they turn to cancer.
That'd be like
that's what men do, and we do.
That'd
it
be
with
like
onions.
cutting a hot pepper and not having it burn your hands.
That's actually not a bad idea either, because I hate when they burn my hands. I like when they burn.
How
my
could
mouth.
it be hot if it doesn't? How could it be an onion? You'd have to take away flavor. That seems like a.
I don't know. I've never eaten one. Now
Well,
I
you
kinda want
you re-inject the flavor.
to.
I mean, we're
You take it
modifying
away and then you put it back.
You re-inject the flavor?
I don't know. It's like orange juice. Orange
First
juice doesn't actually
you take that onion, you take the flavor.
like perfume packets and with orange juice because it just sits in big vats for a long time.
Okay.
So they hire perfume companies to give you the smell, and a lot of the taste is not.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
What? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Say that again.
So they put orange perfume into like
It's
what is it made of?
they've hired like perfume companies to develop the smell that you smell with orange juice, because it sits so long in like the big vats from juicing and stuff that it essentially loses its smell and loses some of its flavor.
And its color. That's why they add color back to it.
Yep, they add color to it.
What?
Yeah. See, Mister, let's modify everything.
No, I'm cool with it. I think it tastes and looks delicious.
I still drink it.
I'm just shocked I didn't know this. I had no
It's
idea.
just not. It's just becomes to the point where it's not even like what it's being presented as anymore. It's just not what it is.
Just
Why do you care?
I don't know.
It tastes like orange juice. Like, you do what you got to do. As long as it's not going to give me cancer. I'm
Right. So what if I just like take plastic and inject flavor into it and give it to you and say it's an orange? Is that okay?
Is it gonna cause me health issues? Did you infuse it with
No,
vitamins?
but are you gonna get anything from it? Are you
Well,
gonna
if I
get
anything
the
from it? Then I
Right,
won't
but-
eat it.
but-
we already talked about this. Food is a nutrient delivery system. Giving me plastic is not food. That's giving me plastic.
well? But if we inject nutrients into the plastic and then you just have to digest the plastic, but you still get the nutrients.
and it doesn't cause me any harm,
Yeah, just
and so it tastes good.
it just cuts your
It
anus
gives
on
me the nutrients
on the
I
way
want.
out.
Well, if it cuts my anus on the way out, then it causes some problems. Like this is not. If you're giving me plastic that's nutrient enriched, that's good for me, that doesn't cause any problems, tastes and smells great, yeah, I'd eat that plastic.
You're really weird.
I would absolutely eat that plastic. I don't understand what the problem is. Like, what do you care? Like, look, if you think about it objectively, corn is silicon. I mean, that's like a cellulite. Mm-hmm. And the reason why you take a shit the next day after you have corn and there's still corn in it is because your body can't process it. You're
exactly.
eating something your body can't process.
Yeah,
Yet you continue to eat it and think it's perfectly natural.
that's because it's not corn.
So good.
Yes, it is.
We just showed me the picture of real corn, and it's not corn.
So
We're-
you're saying the corn you eat is not real?
No.
What is it, an illusion?
It's not
It's a
corn.
hologram?
It's not corn because you just showed me corn at the beginning of the podcast.
So only the corn is
What
far
we
back as
eat-
we can track corn is real. What about the corn before that?
What we eat is kern.
Cown.
Kern.
It's cown.
Kern.
To answer your question, I'd eat the crap out of that plastic if it tasted good enough, had good
I want-
texture,
I-
had vitamins, and smelled good.
I really want to find real corn now and try it.
Okay, look, if they made Play-Doh, like I ate glue. You're asking the wrong guy. And glue had no nutrients.
I eat now and laters.
Love the taste of that crap. When I was
And
a kid.
Laffy Taffy.
Might explain a few things. Shoot. All right. I want to change topic. What?
Nothing.
He's not going to accept dinner the next time his wife makes corn.
I don't. It's so arbitrary. The whole thing is so arbitrary. It
What's
drives me insane.
what's the next thing on your list? What's your next question?
Next thing, you know what? Human and medical. How much time we got? We're gonna wrap this thing up hard. I want to talk about the banana vaccine.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, perfect. Just enough time to talk about the banana vaccines. Are you okay with this, Mister? I don't want to eat the weird, screwy primate pig. Banana vaccine. So they
Banana
made
vaccine.
a banana that can transfer the ability for an immunoresponse into humans just by eating it, and it makes you immune to cholera and hepatitis. And they give these bananas to people in areas that have cholera, like, I don't know, Panama. Is that bad? A banana that cures cholera. A delicious cure for cholera. No shot required. Just give your kids some bananas. Won't get cholera.
Or is it a vaccine disguised as a banana? If it's a vaccine, why not just give the vaccine?
Well,
Why-
I don't think it's a vaccine.
why
I think
pretend
you
you're
need to
handing out-
Keep eating the bananas, but you're giving it to them in a way. You're just no. It's the same thing as putting iodine in salt.
Do we
you
think-
find something that they're going to eat anyway, and then you put
Just keep
something
doing it.
helpful into it? So salt doesn't have iodine. We need iodine. They added iodine. Now we have iodine, but we're going to eat salt either way, so it's good for us. Banana vaccine. They're eating bananas anyway. Let's just put in an immunotriggering response in there to keep them from getting cholera. Put it into something they're going to eat regardless. They get the bananas. They eat the bananas. It's the same bananas they would have gotten last week, except this week it solves the hepatitis problem.
There's so many bananas.
So many bananas.
I feel like we're back in the first NFT episode.
Yeah, I feel like it's
We're talking about cybercons.
it's like
I know.
cybercons. Just
Well, you use the bananas
Okay.
to buy more cyber.
did you get the COVID vaccine?
I'm not going to answer that in this podcast.
So how do you feel about that? If we're pro-vaccine, how come we don't want the COVID vaccine.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Well, if you're gonna eat, you're gonna eat.
Who said who's pro-vaccine?
You said you're gonna eat a banana disguised as a vaccine.
It's not. No, you said it's disguised as a vaccine. I just said it produces an immunoresponse that prevents you from getting cholera. That's not a vaccine. We already covered this in a different podcast.
But then why not just give? Why not just give a vaccine or give whatever it
We
is?
don't have a cholera vaccine.
Oh, but
Do
they
we have
could do it in a.
cholera
I don't know.
They could put it in a banana, but they can't put it in a vaccine.
If you put it in a vaccine, then you need to have people that are trained to use needles. You need to set up tents. You need to have people willing to come out and get the vaccine. You need to have people that
That's
are willing
probably
to
the-
fund this whole project. To have doctors go out and nurses go out. And
But if you could just cook the bananas,
but if you can
It's like
make
a-
it stable,
like
and
it-
put in a
like it's a-
banana,
it's
that's
like a-
iodine and salt.
it's like a meth lab, except you're making bananas.
Yes, you got to cook those bananas.
Dude, we're gonna cook bananas, man.
Yeah, cook bananas.
Get
All
it.
right, all right. You know what? Forget it. This one's a bad example.
Go for it.
I was gonna bring up eugenics.
Really? Really? You're worried about bad examples at this point?
Just gonna say, if they said they could splice some DNA to me, they would give me a 6-pack. I'd take that DNA. I'd probably want somebody else to test it first, but then I'd be like, "That's a pretty nice 6-pack. I'll take that."
That's just gonna.
So, what are your thoughts
That's
on
just gonna be that's gonna be a shot of an
I don't
adrenaline.
have a problem with designer babies. I mean, you want to test that on some pigs first, and you don't want it to look like that thing, like that pig thing you put up on the screen. But once they kind of like work it out, like if you get like a pig that comes out with huge biceps and like a really good lock of hair, and you're like, "We got it," then let's try it out on some real babies. Let's see what's going down. I understand.
Such a tech guy.
Look, I'm so against killing things. Unless it's for meat for me. But I'm not against... but I have a hard time... And sorry, I have a hard time understanding why we're against improving things at the root of it. And you're right, I am an IT guy. So this is how I look at my world. Is I can fix something that sucks, or I can build something that's great from day one. And usually I'll opt to build something new that's great from day one, and it'll work amazing, and it'll blow the doors off that old thing that sucked that I would have fixed that would have been slightly better. And I feel like humans are kind of there. Look, we can wait a couple of billion years and see if we get any better. But we've seen how quickly evolution works, and it's not super fast. So I have a philosophical philosophy that evolution was just waiting for us to catch up. And now it's like, go. It's like, do it yourself. Like, I don't need to be doing all this work. Like, Darwin figured me out. I gave you the basic tools. I gave you a big fat head that made you roll around on the ground for the first year of your life. And now you do it. You want 6 fingers? Go put an extra finger on. I don't care what you do. like that's why I made you this way. Like go make all of your triceps look like diamonds. Like, go have at it, Haas. I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
I guess I thought 6 fingers was weird, but
I don't
when
know.
you put it like that, I mean, I'd have 7 if
Well,
it was
that
up to
is your
me.
number. You'd also have 7 clones to go with each finger. Then you could count them. So that would
Because there's like a big gap right here. I mean, I could
Yeah, this
easily,
whole
I
part
could
down
easily,
here.
I could easily fit 2 in there.
it's missing fingers.
Look at it.
Exactly.
It doesn't even look odd.
We can fix it.
That looks like something's missing.
Yep. We can take care of that. Now all I need is your credit card number.
You got to vote on that. See?
That looks a little inappropriate.
Yeah, that.
Okay, put it down. Put it down. You're scaring the children. All right. I don't even know if this should be watched by anyone, but we did it. It's a thing that happened, so that's good, right? I mean,
I don't even know how we're going to describe this episode. Just watch.
you gotta see it to believe it. It happened. So, Jimmy, you got any final thoughts? Besides the fact that you love GMO products.
I don't know. He made me think differently.
I'll do that.
I don't know. It's like it could be. It's a little bit of a scary step forward for mankind. When you're starting to like mess around with just like what we are, not who we are, but like literally what we are.
But at the same time, you could have octopus tentacles, and that would be awesome.
And then if I like smack you across the face, it would stick. And then it would go.
And that's why you suck. Tyler, any final thoughts?
Nope, I'm tapped out.
I can't wait to get out of here. I got nothing else. I went through my cloning thing. I've embarrassed myself enough. Thank you guys for being here with us. We'll see you next whenever.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.